In the workshop today, we're going to be building out a brand new MACD indicator bot. We should go about an hour, just depending on questions and how many questions we get during the workshop together. So we'll try to go at a pretty good pace, making sure that we don't leave a lot of people behind, but at the same time, move at a pretty good pace here. So the goal for us is to build out a new bot using the MACD indicator as the core signal, and then scan for MACD crossover signals to sell opposing spreads. So the idea is that when you get a sell signal on MACD, you would sell a call spread. When you get a buy signal on MACD, you would sell a put spread, and you could go back and forth. And of course, you can make any kind of modification or changes to this if you want. We'll post a copy of the template in the community, so you can grab a copy of that inside the community right after we're done here today. Then we're going to use some decisions to prevent the bot from entering multiple positions at the same time in the same underlying ticker symbol. And then finally, we're going to use some monitor automations with a lot of different management decisions for multiple exit points. The goal for me is to get a very simple bot template out there, and then you guys can come back in the community, make your own modifications and your own versions of it, and then post it right back to the same thread so that we can all share different versions or ways of doing it. Works out really well, and I think everyone kind of likes this model. So, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and start creating this new bot. So creating a new bot is super, super easy. We're going to do it all from scratch here and just build it out together. I'll kind of talk through it as we go, but we'll call this one our MACD indicator bot. And so again, we can create a custom icon. You can do whatever you want with it. You can give it a custom little logo or icon. Make it just really, simple and, personal to you. Next thing you have to do is choose the account. So this is where you're going to choose what account it's actually linked to. You can start with your option alpha paper trading account, or if you want to, you can directly link it to one of your brokerage accounts. So if you've got a broker connected in here, you can connect it to one of your accounts or connect it to any of your sub accounts as you're going. So we'll just leave it in our paper trading account for now. Next thing that we're going to set up here is our allocation. This is where we're going to tell the bot how much capital it has to allocate to open new positions. This is your fail-safe, your backstop. The bot's never going to go over this capital allocation amount for new positions. So this is where you can say, look, I want the bot to trade and then only do up to 5,000 at most. Now, this is not the only place you can set some limits. You can do that when you actually enter the position as well. And you can set some limits on the number of contracts or how many shares you trade or up to a certain percentage of the bot's allocation. But this is kind of like that last final fail stop at the end. Okay. Next thing that we're going to set here is our position limits. So position limits are super cool because they allow us to automatically turn off the scanners or send them into a dormant mode whenever the bot reaches these limits. Now, again, there's no limitation on closing positions. You can close positions at any time. You can override positions at any time too. But this just tells the bot, look, you can enter one new position a day, or in total, you can do 2 new positions at any one time, right? So we can just do, for our example, we'll just do, say, 3 positions in total, but no more than 2 positions in one day. Okay. Any questions on this so far? Let me know. If this is all working out well, you guys are enjoying this, good cadence, let me know. Just, give, I don't know, I think you could do thumbs up in here or something. Okay. So you go ahead and now create your bot, and then you can go over and view your bot. So inside of our view here, this is where we have our empty shell. And of course, all of the automations are turned off by default. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over and adding automations. So again, automations are where you tell the bot what to do. Okay. You're telling the bot what to do in the automations, and you can trigger your automations to run using scanners, monitors, or events. In this case, we're going to start off with a scanner. All a scanner does is just simply tell the bot to run through an automation, make decisions, and potentially open a new position. So scanners are going to be keying off those daily position limits that we set earlier, where we're telling the bot, look, you can open 2 positions per day. So once you get 2 positions, the scanner goes into a dormant mode and starts sleeping until the next day, right, where it has an opportunity to maybe grab some new positions. So in here, we're going to add a new scanner, and we're going to create a brand new automation to run inside of this bot. We'll call this one our MACD indicator scanner. You can name it whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Like, I usually like to name it something like scanner or monitor or bot button or whatever, so that when you save it into your library, then you know exactly what the automation is or what it's using and what it's intended to do. Okay. Now in here, we're going to start with a action. The first action that we're going to add in here is we're actually going to add a symbol loop. So here's what symbol loops do. Symbol loops do exactly what they sound like. You basically can type in a list of ticker symbols, and then what the bot will do is the bot will loop through those ticker symbols. And as it's looping through those ticker symbols, it's going to make all the same decisions for every single symbol. Does that make sense? So now what we're going to do is we're going to put in a list of symbols that we want the bot to loop through. Maybe we want this bot to have the ability to trade these 5 ticker symbols, whatever they are, right? You just put in your ticker symbols here. Once you put in your ticker symbols, you can then select done and then save that to your automation. So this is a really easy way, and this is probably the most traditional way to start a scanner automation. Now what you can do is you can say, bot, you have the ability to loop through and check SPY, GLD, XOP, DIA, USO, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Now we have to tell the bot, okay, when it's looping through those, what decisions do we want it to make? And notice now that we've already added our symbol loop, we don't have the ability to then loop another set of symbols. We've already told it what symbols we're going to loop through. So now we're going to go ahead and have the bot start to make some decisions. This is where you actually have to start really thinking out how you're building your bots. And again, hopefully this is part of this process and coming to a workshop here so that we can talk about this together. But one thing that we want to do in our particular bot is we don't want the bot to open new positions in the same symbol. Okay, so we don't want the bot to open new positions in the same symbol. So what we can do is we can add a couple recipes to first check and make sure that the bot can open a position and that the bot doesn't already have an existing position in that symbol. Because what we don't want is we don't want the bot to open a new position and then another new position right away. Maybe in this case, and you could do that if you wanted to, but in this case, we don't want to double up or stack positions on top of one another. Okay, so the first thing that we can do here is we can go down to one of our bot recipes and we can check and see if the bot already has a position with this exact symbol. Notice that we can check a recipe like this, like the bot already has a certain type of a position or a certain position with a symbol or a type of a position with an existing symbol, right? So if you want to do it really granular, you can do it really hyper-focused here. In our case, we just need to use this one here, which is that we're going to check and see if the bot has exactly 0 positions with this symbol. Now, I like to do it like this because I like to make sure that my bot gives me an affirmative yes, I have 0 positions with whatever symbol I'm currently looping through. Notice here inside of the symbol field that we can actually select the symbol. But if we actually choose the symbol like SPY here, then every time the bot gets to this decision, it always checks SPY. So what you can do instead of manually selecting it is you can connect this field to whatever symbol the bot is currently looping through. Now we can do this using custom inputs. And notice this little blue icon here represents our custom inputs. Custom inputs are just little connectors that you can place throughout your automations. And they allow you to then use dynamic fields as you're going. So instead of filling in SPY, I'm going to connect this to whatever symbol is currently being looped through at the time. So it will independently check each individual symbol. And the bot will quickly, in like less than a fraction of a second, check and see, do I have exactly 0 positions in SPY? Yes or no? Do I have exactly 0 positions in GLD? Yes or no? Exactly 0 in XOP? Yes or no? So once you're good to go here, you simply hit save. Okay, so that's our first decision. And then we can save it and add it to our automation editor. So now what's going to happen is the bot's going to loop through each position or each symbol, and then independently, it's going to go ahead and look at each symbol and make a decision. Do I have exactly 0 positions in that symbol? Now, in our case, we're only going to now fill out the yes path because we only want to potentially enter a position if the bot already doesn't have a position in that thing. We don't want to double up on it. So we're going to leave the no path empty. If it's got a position already, just let the automation for that particular symbol end. Next, what we're going to do is we're now going to start to make some decisions to check and see some of these technical indicators. Now, again, there's lots of other decisions you can make in here. So it's just an example of how you can do it. But we're going to go down to our indicator field. and we're going to select the new recipe that we added just a couple weeks back for MACD. So this recipe is specifically curated for MACD because it's got its own little quirks and little ways of setting it up. So it needs its own brand new recipe inside of our bots. So we're going to select this recipe. And again, rather than choosing the symbol manually, we're going to do what? We can connect the symbol to whatever symbol is currently being looped through in the bots. Notice that we can use these custom inputs throughout the automation so that we don't have to go in and manually change everything 100,000 times. We just simply connect it to whatever symbol it's looping through. Next, we're going to choose all the variables for our MACD settings. Now you can go in and choose and modify yours. We'll just keep the very simple, standard, traditional settings for MACD for this bot example and workshop, but you can go in and modify the fast period, the slow period, the signal period, and tell it what type of exponential or simple moving average to use for those periods. Next, we're going to choose the variable here for the MACD line being above or below either our signal or zero line. So for MACD, there's two different ways you can use it. You can use MACD where the actual MACD line crosses above the signal line or crosses below the signal line, or when the MACD line itself crosses above or below the zero line. The zero line is where you typically see a lot of traders use like a MACD histogram. That's really judging kind of like, in some cases, depending on how it's set up, the zero line. In our case, what we're going to do is we're going to use the signal line. We're going to use MACD crossing above or below the actual signal line. And when you do that, then we can actually check and see if we're getting a buy or a sell signal. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up all of our overbought signals for MACD. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and use the symbol MACD line is currently below the signal line on an intraday basis. This would again represent that the MACD line has now been overbought and is now starting to turn the other way. And so when the MACD line crosses below the signal line, that might represent a potential sell signal or overbought signal for the underlying security. So once we do that, we can now go and confirm all of the other fields, including that we're going to check this on an intraday, which just uses the most recent data whenever the automation runs. And we're going to go ahead and save. Now, there's one other thing that we could do here if we want to make sure that we're actually checking for a true crossover. So if we leave this right now as it is, then what it's going to do is it's just going to check and see if the MACD line is below the signal line. But that doesn't necessarily mean when you start your bot that it actually is going to look for a crossover at that moment or today. So if you start your bot and the MACD line has been below the signal line for 10 days, it'll still answer yes. And you might want to start your bot that way where you're just going to start it with whatever the signal is at the current time, whether it's a buy signal or sell signal. But if you want to use this as a crossover, what we can do is we can actually create a grouped decision. So we can go down here and we can go to the same recipe and we can set it up exactly the same. So connecting our symbol. And now we can check and see if the MACD line is below the signal line, not below, but was above the signal line, not on an intraday basis, but 1 day ago. So in this particular case with this recipe here, we're also checking to make sure that the MACD line was above the signal line yesterday. And then if we add this to our group here, now this gets us a true crossover. So in this case, we're checking for both things to happen. We want the MACD line on an intraday basis to be below the signal line. But we are also checking through the use of and statements for the MACD line to be above it 1 day ago. This gets us the true valid crossover, which actually for SPY happened today. Yesterday was above, today it's below. So then your bot is literally looking for that actual crossover for the first run. So this really only happens for the first run because if you start running it over and over again, it's always going to be the case where you get the crossover. So now we're going to go ahead and just save this to our actual automation. So that gets us 1/2 of our signal for our scanner. So now what we're going to do is we're going to build out the other half. And I like to do it this way. I like to build out all the signals, then I kind of fill in the actual trades. So in this case, that's all of our signals that would be our overbought signals. If we wanted to, we could go in here and edit this caption and change all of this and say something like, is the symbol overbought and turning lower, or whatever. Whatever you want to put in here, you can edit your caption to make it a lot easier and just kind of clean up your automation if you want to. Now down the no path. So if that's not true, then what do I want to check? Then what I can do is I can add another set of decisions. This time I'm going to check all the same stuff, just in reverse. So I'm going to go down to my recipe list for MACD, and I'm going to select the MACD symbol. I'm going to connect this to the symbol it's looping through. Now I'm going to check and see if the MACD line is above the signal line on an intraday basis. So that's the first one. Just use the very standard setup for this one. Then I'm going to add another one to check and see if it was below the signal line 1 day ago. So I connect it here. Again, go over here to below the signal line and change intraday to just 1 day ago. Now again, the difference here is that intraday uses today's actual values for the last calculation. So it's always using the most recent one, whereas 1 day ago is checking the value yesterday, right? 1 day ago or 2 days ago, however you want to use it. And once you're good to go, you can just again add this here and then simply save it to your automation. Now that we're going through this, we've got basically both of our signals set up. And I won't modify the custom input here for this one. I'll just leave this one here, okay? Or the caption here for this one. Now what do we want to do down these different paths? Well, if the symbol is overbought and turning lower, so we're getting all of these sell signals essentially with our MACD indicator, then we might want to sell a call spread. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and add an action to open a new position. We're going to tell the bot that we want to open a new position and we want to sell a short call spread. Now again, we can choose the symbol and we can always use the same symbol, but it doesn't really help us if we want to do a whole portfolio of different trades. Instead, we're going to use this beautiful custom input here and connect it to that same symbol. Does this make sense on custom inputs? If you've never seen custom inputs now, you're probably loving custom inputs because it makes it so much easier just to connect all the wires and loop everything together. Now we have to fill out all the information for our particular call spread. I'll let you guys do that on your own version of this. We're not going to spend time doing this, but you can make all kinds of modifications to this. You can target at least certain days to expiration or expirations between a certain series or on or after a certain date. Then you can do all kinds of stuff where you can go ahead and choose exactly what strikes you want to use. You want to use in the money strikes, you want to use it based on dollars or a standard deviation above or below. You can base your other strikes off of other strikes. So you can say my long strike is $20 below my put strike or whatever the case is. You can do all of that when you set up your account, set up your actual strikes. Same thing with the amount of contracts. You go in here and you can choose, tell the bot, look, you can do one contract at a time or up to a certain dollar amount of risk. You can do 5% of the bot's allocation, so it's always on a floating basis, and that's usually using the 5% of risk and then round it down to the nearest contract. So you can do a lot of stuff in here and kind of really customize your actual order. The last thing that you can do in here is you can also set up your custom smart pricing. So you can tell the bot exactly how you want it to start sending orders over to your broker. You can tell the bot, hey, look, use normal smart pricing. So try, if available, if the spread's wider, try 4 prices. If the spread's narrow, it might not try 4 prices because the spread's pretty narrow, but it will try up to 4 prices, space out the orders 10 seconds apart. And then you can even set a final price. You can tell the bot, look, don't go more than 50% of the bid-ask spread. So stop at 50%, try again at the next interval. This means that I try all day for you, trying to get into a position, adhering to your exact rules, okay? You guys use smart pricing? Everyone love it. I don't know if you've watched this happen before, but if you haven't done it yet with a live trade, when you get to the point of using smart pricing, it's bananas when you just watch it fire orders back and forth. It's crazy, and you're going to love it. So once you're good to go, you simply hit save, and then go ahead and add your open short call spread to your bot. So now what the bot's doing here in this case is it's first checking to see if it doesn't already have a position in that symbol. Then it's checking to see if the technical indicators are working for that symbol, like giving you a sell signal, an overbought signal for that particular symbol. And if so, then it would go to the next step of trying to open the position. Now, the beautiful thing about using the automation here is you can test this logic right inside of your bot. So we can run a test here and just kind of quickly test the logic that we've built out. So for SPY, which is just looping through the first symbol here, you can see it's using SPY as the data. Does the bot have exactly 0 positions with that symbol? Well, yes, we just started it. Like the bot has no positions. Did the bot encounter the first decision block and get to a yes answer? So in this case, you can see all the data that the bot's using. Here was the MACD line. Here was the signal line. Here was the MACD line 1 day ago, and it was above the signal line, which was at 313. All of that is right in here in the decision log. In the case of SPY, it would have resulted in a yes answer, which would have sent it down the yes path to open a new short call spread. Now, it didn't actually open a short call spread, right? Because this is just a test, but it helps you stress test the logic that you're building out in your bots. And I highly, highly encourage you to keep using testing inside of your bots as you go. Now we can go over to the next ticker symbol. We can check GLD. Notice with GLD, it resulted in no answers across the board. And that's great. Yes, the bot doesn't have 0 positions, but no, it's not overbought nor oversold. It's not giving us an actual indicator signal to go ahead and enter a position. So that's great. The automation just simply ended. And this is really what you want out of your bots. You want your bots to do all the heavy lifting and checking, and then basically just go ahead and end the automation for that scheduled run and check it all over again. So you don't have to do that. Then you can worry about, focus your time on building bots and strategies and learning new techniques, and let the bot do all the checking and manual tedious processes for you. All right, let's keep going here. So now what we're going to do, we built out our short call spread, and now we're going to build out our short put spread. So we're going to use the same kind of mechanics here. We're just going to build out that open position action. We're going to go down to a short put spread this time because that's what we want to do if we're getting a buy signal and the stock is oversold. And then we're going to go ahead and connect this to our symbol and fill out all of our fields and then go ahead and save. Okay, that was a little bit faster than what you would probably do because you would probably fill out all your different fields, but you get the idea of how you can put in that actual position. Now, in this case, I want to do one other thing here, which will help you out. But I'm sure when you're trading, you don't just normally enter new positions without checking things first. What I like to do with mine is I like to actually build out the trade that I want to get into first. So that's how I did it inside of this demo. I built out the trade that I wanted to do first for the particular bot. Then what we can do is we can come back in and add opportunity filters. So what opportunity filters do is they allow us to check information before we send the trade to our broker. So you might want to check open interest, or you might want to check a really easy one is bid-ask spread. So once you've already built out your actual trade that you want to send to the broker, it makes using opportunity filters a lot easier because the bots are smart enough to recognize the opportunity that you already are trying to get into. And we call it an opportunity filter because that's exactly what it is. You haven't made a trade yet. You're kind of evaluating an opportunity. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually precede this short call spread with another decision. And because it's already built out, this will help us with our new opportunity filter. We're going to have the bot make one decision before it gets to the point of sending the order over to our broker. And that new decision that we're going to make is we're going to check just a very simple bid-ask spread to make sure that the bid-ask spread of whatever we're trying to get into is tight enough that would really represent some liquidity. Again, you can use open interest, you can use volume, you can check individual leg open interest or volume or the bid price of the whole thing together. You can check a ton of these if you wanted to. This is just one way you could potentially do it. So here we're going to use this recipe, and we're going to first then select our new opportunity. Now, because we already had built out these two different trades, the bots are smart enough to recognize, hey, do you want to use one of the recent trading potentials that you're about to get into? So you just say, yeah, I want to use the short call spread that I just built out. Confirm the details of the one you just built out, and then go ahead and save that as your new opportunity. Now, what this does is this tells the bot, look up this exact trade. That's what you're telling the bot to do. Look up this exact trade and check and see if the bid-ask spread is less than a certain amount. In this case, you can type in an amount like, 7 cents. What do you guys use as a filter? 10 cents? I mean, it probably depends on some of the variables, but yeah, like 5, 6 cents, right? Whatever it is. But it's going to make sure that the bid ask spread at the time that it encounters this decision and runs the automation is less than that amount that you set. This is a really smart way to prevent the bot from entering positions of massive spread quantities, right? So you really don't want to let the bot do a real massive spread amount. So you can't use percentages right now. You just use penny amounts, but soon with formulas, you'll be able to calculate a percentage if you wanted to and get some really crazy like percentage like calculations and put it in there as well. So you can just use pennies for now, but formulas will help you do that. So here's the thing though. In this case, I can put in 7 cents and I can use 7 cents, but if I want to reuse this amount for say my short put spreads or another automation, what I can also do is I can create a custom input for this field. So I can create my own custom input for this particular field and call it my bid ask spread threshold. And I can put in a default number like 7 cents, and I can save that as a new custom input. Now this is really cool because when we do this for our short put spread, we can reuse the same field. That means we only ever have to change it once moving forward, right? So now that bid ask spread threshold can be used throughout my automation. And if I've got a bunch of different ways in which I could have the bot check for positions or open things, now I've got a custom input that later I can just change one time and it changes and flows throughout the rest of the automation. Victor's like, super cool. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and add this one simple decision and I'll have it proceed down the yes path. So now if we get a signal on MACD, now I first want the bot to make sure that the spread I'm about to send over to my broker has a spread width or a bid ask spread less than my threshold. So how cool is that? And if it doesn't, then it won't send the order. And then next time, if it does, then it will send the order, right? And it'll go down the yes path. And this is really good. You should do a lot of this stuff. You should add some volume filters. You should add some open interest filters if you want. The bid ask spread is kind of like the lowest hanging fruit that you can possibly add, because if it doesn't have a tight spread, probably doesn't have a lot of liquidity or the liquidity is low, but it helps prevent the bot from trying to force a position in a really wide spread. And even if the long leg is $2 above and the short strike is $5 above or whatever it is, it's still going to check that same bid ask spread for the whole opportunity. So even if it's different, it'll still dynamically enough check that new opportunity that it's looking at. So we're going to do the same thing here for our short put spread. This makes it really easy to do with the short put spread as well. We're going to add a new decision preceding the other one. We're going to go down to our opportunity filter. We're going to check and make sure that our bid ask spread is less than a certain amount. Notice we can reuse that short put spread we're about to get into. That's our recent opportunity. Confirm all the info. And now we're going to go to our bid ask spread amount. Now, because we've created a custom input for this field, we don't have to type in a number. We can just connect this custom input to the one that we just created a couple seconds ago. So now we can reuse that same custom input across multiple decisions inside of the bot. If I go too fast on this or going at a good pace. So now not only are we checking for the MACD signals, but we're also doing a very quick little liquidity check to make sure that the bid ask spread is low enough for this potential opportunity before we send it over to our broker. So once we're good to go here, we're going to go ahead and just exit out of our MACD scanner automation. Notice when we exit out of here on our scanner settings screen, our new custom input showed up, right? So if we want to modify this, we can say, hey, you know what? We want to change this to 5 cents. So we just change it to 5 cents. We want to change it right here. We just change it right here. We say, oh, I want to change it back to 7 cents. Now when we save this, every time the automation runs, it's going to use that value for our bid ask spread threshold. Once we're good to go, we just simply hit save, and now it gets added as our new scanner. Again, you can go right back in here and double check this, and then you can change this and be like, you know what? I want to go in here and change this to 5 cents. So this is really easy because now you don't have to go open the automation editor, go find all the places where you're using it. Nope, you just do it one time with your new custom input. Okay, so our scanner automation is built out. Now we're going to go down to our monitors. Monitors are super awesome because what they allow us to do is monitor positions when they get opened. And the way that we set up Option Alpha and the way that everyone, I think, likes how it's set up right now is that you have scanners that basically run to tell the bot it can open new positions. But you might manage positions the same as other strategies, or you might manage positions differently, right? So in our case, we're going to use one monitor automation, and we're going to split the monitor automation in half based on what type of position the bot has at the time. Okay, so we can use one monitor automation. We could use two, one for our short put spreads and one for our short call spreads. But we're going to actually do it with one monitor automation so you can see how it works in one full swoop, basically. So the monitor automations will start running whenever the bot has a new position open. That means that they don't run or they stay in a sleep or dormant mode when the bot doesn't have any new positions open. Now, in our case, we can reuse an existing automation that we have. We can create a copy of this one. So if you don't want to build it from scratch, you can create a copy and then just modify that one and create a new monitor automation. But because this is about workshop and we love doing things from scratch, we're going to build out a brand new monitor automation from scratch. We call our MACD monitor with spreads. Okay. As always, when we start our automations, we have to start it with some actions. In this case, we're going to start it with now a position loop. Position loops are almost identical to the symbol loop that we created in our scanner, except this time, instead of looping through symbols looking for potential trades, we're looping through actual positions. So we use a position loop to tell the bot, hey, pull in all the information on some positions so that we can start to make some decisions on how we want the position managed. When you add a position loop, you can actually filter your position loop right away by certain types of positions. So you can say, hey, look, I only want to manage in this particular automation short call spreads. So basically, if you added it like this, you would tell the bot, look, ignore all other position types, only send short call spreads down my path, right? Like I'll ignore and take care of the other ones myself with different automations, whatever the case is. But in this case, I only want short call spreads. On our example, like I said, we're going to build it out so that we pull in all the information on every position, and we can divide it out later if we wanted to inside the automation. Again, it's only pulling in position information. So if you don't have a position, then it's not going to be pulling in information. But the second that the bot has a brand new open position, it's going to start pulling that information into the bot. Now we're going to add a decision. What do we want to do with these positions that come in? In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to first check and see what the position is. Again, this is just one way that you could potentially do it. You don't have to do it this way. You could do it a number of different ways. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it, but we're going to use a recipe to check and see what type of position we're currently looking at. So in this case, we're going to use this recipe and we're going to check to see if the position type is a certain type of option strategy. This way, we can now start to send different types of strategies down different management paths. Maybe we want to take 50% profit on the short put spreads, but 25% profit on the short call spreads. Okay, so we're going to select the position. Now, of course, we can just use the custom inputs like we do all over the place and connect it to whatever position the bot is currently looping through. So if the bot has 10 positions, it's going to check each position one by one. Is this position this type? Is this position this type? Is that position another type? One by one as we go. Next, it's going to go and check and see if the position type is or isn't a certain type. We're going to just use is, which makes it really easy. And we're going to choose short call spread. So we choose our position type here, and then we just simply save. So now we've added our first decision. First, check and see, is this a short call spread? Yes, send it down the path, right? Send that short call spread down the yes path, and we can manage it differently. If it's not a short call spread, let's go ahead and add another decision to see if the potential position is a short put spread. So we'll go down here to the same recipe. We'll connect it to our position and say, is this position a short put spread? And then we'll go ahead and save it to our automation. So now we got basically like the first shell set up. Again, you don't have to do it this way. You can set up two different monitor automations, one for call spreads, one for put spreads. This is just another way you can do it. Fun way to do it on a workshop, okay? Now for short call spread positions. If they are short call spreads, they'll go down this yes path. If they short put spreads, they'll go down this yes path. This is where you start building out all of your management decisions for this particular bot. So what might be something that you want to do with your brand new position when you look to manage it? Well, you might want to check and see if the position has reached a certain profit target, right? So for short call spreads, maybe that profit target is 25%, right? Maybe whatever it is for you, you can put it in here. So we're going to use this position recipe, which of course, if it's a position recipe, it needs to be under a position loop because it's pulling in data on a position. We're going to check and see if whatever position it's currently looping through, so connected to those inputs, has decreased by 25%. Now remember, we say decrease because in this case, for our potential trading strategy, we're selling short premium. So when the value goes down by 25%, that represents a profit. So we're going to tell the bot, look, constantly check and see if the position decreased in value by 25%. If that text is confusing to you, because you can use it both ways, you can say, do I have a 25% profit? You can go ahead and just save your new caption. So if we do have a 25% profit, and it's going to check all the time as the position's open, what do we want to do? If the answer to that question is yes, well, we want to tell the bot, close the position. You connect it to whatever position it's currently looping through, and then you go ahead and tell it exactly how you want to submit the orders to your broker. Once you're good to go, you just simply hit save. Now you've told it one way in which it could close your short call spread position. So do I have a 25% profit? Yes. Go ahead, close the position. If I don't have a 25% profit, what else might I want to check? Maybe I'm close to expiration. Maybe I'm getting challenged, right? Yeah, Tim said time. Let's add another decision. If I don't have a 25% profit, and the answer to that question is no, let's go down to the position recipe for the position expires in a certain number of days. So in this case, I connected to the position still looping through using custom inputs. And I say, does the position expire in less than 2 market days? Whatever you want to use here, it's up to you, right? But once you're good to go, you simply hit save and then add your new decision to your branch. So with short call spreads, it's first going to check and see, do I have a 25% profit? Yes, close it. Does the position expire in 2 days? Yes, do the same thing, close the position. Simply connect it to the positions looping through and hit save. So this is what's really cool, and I think about bots, but I'm biased, totally. I'm bot biased, but I think it's so cool that we can tell the bot under all different scenarios when we want to close the position. We tell the bot, look, you can close it here, or you have approval to close it here, or you have approval to close it here, 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 and here. You can build out as many of these different yes, no paths as you want to in your particular automation. Now let's fill out the position type being a short put spread. Same thing's going to happen here. We're going to go ahead and add some decisions, and let's add some new decisions for checking the profit for this one. So we're going to add a new one here for, do I have a profit on this one? And we'll say that the premium decrease for a short put spread, which again would be a profit of 50, let's do something a little bit higher, like 75%. Doesn't matter, you can make it whatever you want and use your own modified version, okay? So now do I have a 75% profit? Again, you can edit this one and you can say, I want to check and see, do I have a 75% profit? Modify your actual caption. So if I do have a 75% profit, again, which is different than how I'm going to manage my short call spreads. Maybe I'm a little bit more weary about short call spreads. Maybe for my short put spreads, I'm willing to let them ride a little bit longer, right? Whatever it is for you, doesn't matter, just an example. But if have a 75% profit, I want to go ahead and close the position. So I connect it to the existing position here and then add that close position action. So it'll start sending those orders and start trying to close that position. Make sense? What if I don't have a 75% profit? Well, this is where you could start doing some other cool things like using a smart stop. Smart stops are our own proprietary way to use a more intelligent, we think, way to use smart stops, or to use a stop order with a hurdle, okay? Does that make sense? To use a stop order with a hurdle. So smart stops are this recipe here, where we can start trailing a position once it reaches a hurdle or target. So the way that we built out smart stops, which was one of the most requested features when we were in beta, was that you have to set a target So maybe you first want to make sure that the position reaches a 50% profit. And then after a 50% profit, you're willing to trail that 50% profit by, say, 10%. So you want to get the position to a 50% profit first. Then when it reaches a 50% profit, try to intelligently trail it up to, in this case, it would trail it up to it reaches that 75% profit, because we're going to also check for that as well. But it gives you the ability to now let the bot do a little bit of dynamic playing around with the position where it doesn't exactly close it, but it's still monitoring the highs and lows of the position. That's why I call it smart stop, because it's a smarter way to use stop orders. Instead of just using a traditional stop where you say, always trail by 10%. No. Let's use a target instead, which is more intelligent. Use a target and trail it only once it reaches that target. Now, if it reaches that target and starts to trail it and backs off of that price by 10%, then go ahead and close the position. So same thing. We're telling it, here's another way you can close the position. If the answer to that one is still no, we could do the same thing and start checking to see if the position expires in a certain number of days. In this case, we can go down to our position recipe for expiring in a certain number of days. And instead of checking for less than 2 market days, maybe because we, trade differently with short put spreads, we're going to trade and take the position off if it expires in less than 3 days. So again, you can do it a little bit dynamic. With our call spreads, we did 2 days. With our short put spreads, maybe we do 3 days. Just trying to give you guys as many possible examples as I can. So with our short put spread, let me just zoom out a little bit here on this. With our short put spread, we have 3 different ways in which the position could be closed. This is different than our short call spread, which only had 2 different ways. I say only, but these are like still intelligent ways that most people usually manage their positions anyway. But with our short put spread, if we have a 75% profit, which is kind of like our highest watermark, take it. Like a 75 or higher, take the position off. Don't mess with it anymore. It doesn't matter. If we don't have a 75% profit, did we hit a 50% profit and then trail that 50% profit by 10%? Basically, like, did we have a profit and we've backed off enough that we want to take the position off? Okay, great. Take the position off. Go ahead. Yes, close it. Or if none of these are true, does the position expire in less than 3 days? And if it does, regardless of profit, loss, whatever, it doesn't matter, just take the position off. Go ahead, bot. It's nearing expiration. We want to go ahead and close the position. You could even get more granular than this and do one other thing here. So because we have a little bit of time here, I'm going to show you how to do this. So instead of just checking, does it expire in 3 days, what might you also want to check if you were trading manually? Well, you might want to check and see if the position's even in the money at all. Because if the position's out of the money and maybe hasn't had its profit target yet, but it's not really being challenged, maybe you don't want to close the position. So you can have another check here. You can say, okay, I want to go ahead and make another decision inside of this group, and I want to check and see if the position's actually getting challenged. So I want to make sure I'm inside 3 days, and I want to see if the position's underlying price is trading below my short put strike. So I'm going to use this decision recipe to check the position, check its underlying price, and see if that underlying price is below my short put strike. Now, if it is below my short put strike, then that means that I'm being challenged on the position. So now I only want to take the position off if both of these statements are true. 1, that it expires in less than 3 days. 2, that the position is also being challenged and the underlying price is below my short put strike. So I can add both of these in here. And now I only close the position if I'm challenged and it's inside 3 days. Otherwise, the position can just keep going down the no path and expire worthless. Collect as much premium as profit as I want to. And again, you're going to probably take things off when you start to get towards 75%. Please, when you guys get a copy of this in the community, because we're going to post it here in a second, when you get a copy of this, create your own modified version of this and share it back into the comments. There's lots of different things that you can do here. So one thing that you could do is, instead of checking, and I'm just going to give you some ideas to, it's not homework, but if you want to do this homework, you can, right? Here's an idea. Instead of checking right away for a potential profit, check and see if you're actually close to expiration. If you're not close to expiration, you could make a whole different set of decisions based on how far you are from expiration or not first. So you might set up a version of this that says, look, if I'm 3 days from expiration and I have a 10% profit, take it. If I'm not 3 days from expiration and I'm 20 days from expiration, then I want to check for a 50% profit. And if I'm not 20 days from expiration, I'm more than 20 days from expiration, then check for a 75% profit. So now you can subdivide this and say, I want to check for different profits based on how close I am to expiration. You can also do things like checking to see how close you are to actually being like deep in the money. So is my position just lightly touching underneath of my short put strike, or am I $4 underneath of the position? So you can do a lot of different things even inside of this one simple management automation. And whenever you're good to go and you've met all of your criteria, just simply close out of this and go ahead and save this to your monitor list. So now our bot truly is fully built out. We have our scanner automation in place that's going through and looping through those potential symbols, looking for a potential trade. And then we have our monitor automation that is going to be managing and monitoring this position. So let's go ahead and we can just turn on the automations and let the bot start running. Now, the bot will run at the next interval and start looking for positions if it's got capital and has the availability to enter new positions, right? We can actually force a position in here if we want to. We can run an automation instantly and say, I want to go ahead and run our MACD indicator scanner and go ahead and just run that automation right now. Then we can go over to the log and see what the automation determined. In this case, when it ran, it was checking SPY, right? Which we know we don't have any symbols. We know that it has a right signal, but guess what? In this case, the bot prevented it from entering the position because the bid-ask spread was too wide. This is awesome. This is exactly what you want out of a bot. You want the bot to make these decisions for you, because if you forget or you don't check or you come into it late, you want the bot to be checking these things for you. And in this case, it got the right buy signal or sell signal for MACD, but it stopped it from sending the order because the spread was too wide, right? And we can modify this if we want to. And again, I'm not telling you to do this all the time, but just to get this one in here, we can say, okay, fine, go ahead, enter it even if the spread is $1 wide, right? Okay, this is not what you want to do, but notice that now it's starting to open a position because we said, okay, go ahead, open the position. So it's starting to send the orders and starting to fill the trade and use smart pricing to submit orders back and forth to your broker, right? Canceling one order, working on another order. You can just refresh here and you can see it's still working on that order, trying to make it as realistic as possible for fill prices. We build in a lot of logic, by the way, with our fills on paper trading to make it a lot more logical and realistic. In some cases, you may not get a fill on something if you're trading an unrealistic price, versus some brokers would just fill the trade regardless on paper trading, trying to make it as realistic as possible for you. Okay, so it's going to be here working, trying to fill the position. If it doesn't fill, it'll try again at the next interval. Keep trying. The fill timeouts are about 5 minutes, so it'll keep trying until it tries to fill that position. Notice again, it's just working at that level. Maybe the spreads are a little bit too wide for this particular position, and it may not fill the position. But now your bot's on, it's starting to work. It's starting to work through new positions, right? You've got your whole set of automations up, and you can start running your different tests and start paper trading this moving forward. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Whenever you want to, you can save a bot as a template. Now, what a template does is it just memorializes that bot's settings. You can think about it as like storing the bot in a library, because that's where it goes. It goes in your actual library. So we're going to save this one as a template, and we can name it whatever we want. Whatever you want to name it, totally up to you. Set all of your position limits for your base template, then go ahead and simply save. Once you save it, it's now in your library. This is a memorialized template that you can use to spin up a new bot. And the beautiful thing about templates is there's no limits on templates. Go crazy with templates. Save a bunch of things as templates. That way you can spin up a new version or new bot anytime you want. Whenever you want to spin up a new bot, just simply clone this one, make any changes you want to it. That's a new version, but your template stays the same, okay? Then what you can do is you can use this template and share it into the community, like I'm going to do right now into the community. So if you're in the community right now, you're about to get this bot template. Give it a nice description, something maybe a little bit longer than this one that kind of tells you exactly what the bot is doing and kind of helps people along. If you have any research associated with it, or if it's based on a strategy, just kind of give people a heads up on like what it is. But this template now shares the template into the community for other people to use. It doesn't share your bot stats or your personal information. That's all still not ever shared into the community. It just truly shares the actual raw strategy. And then people can create their own versions of it, like you guys can do right now when I share this, once I share this, and make your own modifications to it, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and create this post and now share it right into the community. So if you go into the community right now, at the top of the template section, under recent, you'll see this brand new bot being shared. So you can come in here, create a clone of this bot, and now you can take the actual bot that we built out today, create your own version of it. And then, like I said, please come right back in here to this exact template screen where you got the template and add your own version right back here. So if you create your own cool version of it that uses a different set of indicators or a different set of filters, or maybe you manage the position completely different, go ahead and add that back in here so that we all have the ability to use different versions and get different ideas. This is the whole idea around crowdsourcing intelligence and being able to share these strategies back and forth. And it really works best when you guys help each other out, which I know you will. I know like a lot of people are in here right now that are super helpful in the community, always answering questions, always sharing different ideas. But hopefully that was helpful. So if you guys enjoyed this today, please let other people know about what we're doing here at Option Alpha. Invite your friends and your family and get some other people involved here in bot trading. Be on the lookout for the next workshop. We'll post it up here soon so you guys can register for that one. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Until next time, happy trading. Take care.